Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tyler Barker. I serve as the coordinator within the Office of Parent and Family Programs here at Georgia Tech. I would like to welcome you to our What's Buzzin' at Georgia Tech webinar series for parents and families. The purpose of our webinar series is to bring to you different offices and programs on campus in terms of what they're doing to support your student, in terms of what core resources and services they offer to just make your student's Georgia Tech experience a better one. And also just to promote student success as well. Today we are joined by Georgia Tech Dining. And so we'll have a presentation from them and they'll just kind of discuss some things that they're doing to support your student this semester, and also perhaps just touch on some things that may be coming in the future as well. And so if you'll just give me a few moments, we'll start our presentation. All right, and without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Dining Operations.
Thank you. This is Carolina Amaro. I'm the Senior Director of Auxiliary Services. So dining services is one of the areas on campus and campus services that I oversee. And before, we just have a couple high-level slides because we know we probably have a lot of questions that we'll go over, but I just want to let everybody on the dining team who's going to be speaking today introduce themselves. So Ryan.
Hello, my name is Ryan Green. I'm the Director for Auxiliary Services here at Georgia Tech.
Hi, I'm Nicole Gott. I'm the Marketing Manager for Dining Services.
And hi, I'm Turk Gaines. I'm the General Manager of Dining Services.
Okay, thank you. So like I said, we'll just go over a few high-level overview of our program and measures that we've put in place this fall semester, and leave plenty of time for questions from everybody tuning in. So much like you've heard on the other webinars you probably attended, safety is the #1 priority for us this fall, and so all the groups have spent the whole summer putting in place measures to keep your students safe on campus this fall, and in a lot of ways it changed how we operate in a lot of our facilities. So for dining, and by the way, pretty much all of this information we're going to share is available on our website, which is listed at the bottom of this page if you want to go back, and there's a lot more details. I'm just going to hit some of the high points. So one of the things we did this fall is we eliminated all self-service stations in our dining halls. Really wanted to minimize areas for contamination where students would be touching any kind of food or sharing utensils or anything like that. So self-service has been eliminated. Also, there's a lot more cleaning. High-touch areas are cleaned very frequently, and we also, instead of having continuous service, we do close down briefly between meal periods to sanitize the entire dining hall. Students are required to wear masks except when they're seated and eating, and pleased to say that we have very high compliance on that. They've been really working well with us to follow all of the guidelines within the dining halls. We've increased grab-and-go options at our dining halls, so we have not just, the sandwich and chips kind of option that's more popular at lunch, but even during the dinner and lunch periods, we have hot and cold options with sides and fruit and a dessert. So a robust meal that serves as a substitute for going through the whole dining hall many times with the same options, so that they can not have to go through the dining hall and wait in line. All campus services operations are cashless. We have plexiglass shields at service areas and cashier stations, much like you see at the grocery stores. We have social distancing decals, stickers, to spread people out when they're in the dining halls. Because we did that, that's obviously a very new measure inside, what it did the first few days of service, because we were really controlling the spacing and traffic flow within the dining halls, is it had the effect that unfortunately it slowed down people coming into the dining halls and created lines outside. So after the first few days, we adjusted. We also had we have limited seating indoors by design to about 25% of our normal capacity. So those two things created lines outside. So we have now adjusted the flow, still maintaining it safe indoors. Again, increased our grab and go options. So a lot of the same, even hot meals are available to go without even having to go through the dining hall, although all those options are available as takeout also. And we are working with the student government to use student workers to help us manage lines outside to help with social distancing and also inform students the different options they have so they don't have to stand in line. So really over the last week, we have not had no lines at all during breakfast and lunch, and even at dinner, they're down to no more than 5 or 10 minutes, and they're very manageable. So it was when we opened, we had never operated like this before, and we erred on being very strict and safe, and that created, unfortunately, some long lines that have since then been addressed. I am going to hand it off to Ryan now. He's going to talk briefly about our quarantine program.
Thank you, Carolina. So we have a number of individuals that we're working with that are in quarantine or isolation, depending upon their status. And we also, for all students who traveled internationally to Atlanta, the CDC previously required for those individuals to quarantine in place for 14 days upon arriving to campus. So for those individuals and for individuals who have tested positive since coming to campus or in quarantine since that time, we are providing meals to those locations. So we have an off-site location for many of those individuals who are currently residing, and we are providing 2 meals a day to those to residents at that location. And then we also have some individuals that are in dedicated spaces and apartments and buildings across campus that are in quarantine or isolation. Those are in separate spaces. They're either quarantining or isolating separately. But we are providing meals twice a day for those individuals. And we do have information on those meals now on our dining website. They are twice a day, but they are pretty hefty meals, and the expense associated is a little bit higher than a traditional meal in many ways due to the travel and the labor and the materials and things like that. So they are getting 2 meals a day, and that is what's being provided to those individuals. And if they are on a meal plan, which the majority of those individuals are who are in quarantine or isolation, the meal plan, a swipe is just utilized and taken off manually by our dining team so that they don't have to pay for anything for those quarantine meals. So next, I'm going to, and there is more information, as I mentioned, on the dining website, dining.godtech.edu. But on the next slide, I wanted to mention about meal swipe locations. So this information is also on our dining website, but it is, of course, very popular for students to want to use their meal swipes outside of dining halls. Back in the day when I went to college, 10 years ago now, you would only use your meal swipes in all-you-could-eat dining halls. But we've made some adjustments to that, and the whole sort of industry has to be able to let students and residents use those meal swipes outside of all-you-can-eat dining halls. So here on this slide, you can see where meal swipes can be used across campus. So North Avenue and Britton are 2 primary dining halls. They can also be used at West Village, which is our sort of tertiary dining hall that's also features micro restaurants, and meal swipes can be used at all of those different micro restaurants over there at West Village. And then our dining hub, which just opened up this fall as sort of the first phase of our student center expansion project. We have white and gold provisions, which is primarily quick eats and grab and go that can be used for a meal swipe. And then we have a home style station, which is hot food that is provided on a daily basis, and that menu does rotate so they can use a meal swipe at that location as well. And then Rising Roll is a new cafe that we just opened up literally just a few weeks ago, right before classes started, and you can also use a meal swipe at that location for a sandwich or salad or that kind of meal as well. So we're trying to provide that flexibility to use meal swipes across many venues on campus, and we've seen some very positive feedback on being able to use those at those locations. And next, I'm going to turn it over to Turk to speak about dietary restrictions in that process.
Hi, thank you, Ryan. So as Ryan and Carolina both spoke about the dining website, we wanted to post that site up there, which is dining.godtech.edu, and that's where you can find most of the information that both Ryan and Carolina spoke about, as well as dietary restrictions for the students. Our menu cycles are built on a 4-week menu cycle, so that means that basically what you eat today, you should not see it again for another 4 weeks, especially around the home style lines, not including the grill or salad bars or what have you. For our dietary restriction stations, that's branded as True Balance, where we keep out 7 of the 8 top allergens for those locations. They're especially safe for the student. We use color-coded tongs and spoons for purple, so everybody knows that we're not cross-contaminating that station, as well as we don't wash or use the same pots that we cook the regular food in for the rest of the students who may not have those dietary restrictions. We also have an executive chef on staff and a dietitian that assists with curating and making sure that if students have questions around those menus, they can reach out. The email address to reach out to the dietitian or the executive chef is nutrition@dietech, and you can see right there, so one of the dietitians or the executive chef will get back to that student within 24 hours. Next slide, Tyler. The last thing I want to talk about is staying connected. To the left is our handles on our social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And to the right is our feedback model, yourdiningvoice.com, or Be Heard as we branded on campus. As Carolina alluded, the beginning of the semester, the first week of school, we had a little bump with long lines and managing that, but we've since bounced back pretty good. Our scores are in the mid 80s to upper 90s on feedback from our students. Last month, we got about over 1,000 feedback cards on the Be Heard platform. So I think overall, our dining program is geared in the right direction and headed in the right direction based off the feedback that we're getting from the students. However, this session right here, we're open to any questions or feedback that you have for us.
Thank you so much to the dining team for presenting on what they are doing to support our students here at Georgia Tech. And so parents and families, if you have questions for our dining services, please feel free to drop those in the Q&A chat box. I see that we have a couple questions already, and so I'll just get that started. And then whoever from the team here, whoever would like to answer the question, you can just say so, and I'll just place you on the screen. First question is, so my student has a class and professor office hours on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10:30 to 2:30. She lives across the street from Willage and Exhibition Hall. Eateries are the next closest place for her to use meal swipes, but those are both closed from 2 to 4 every day. So when she gets out of class at 2:30 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, she can't eat unless she takes a half-hour walk to Britton or North Avenue. Could Willage and the Exhibition Hall meal swipes locations stagger their cleaning shutdown times so that way they're both not closed from 2 to 4 every day?
Yeah, this is Ryan. I can go ahead and take that. It looks like there was a few questions related to that same scenario. I definitely think we can look into that. It's a good point. There is also a question related asking if we can reduce the amount of time it takes to thoroughly clean the space. I don't think we can do it in less than 2 hours. Dining is not the only one who's actually shutting down spaces around campus during traditionally operational hours in order to ensure they're being cleaned thoroughly. So 2 hours is pretty much going to be the standard that we're using across campus to ensure everything is cleaned properly and thoroughly. However, it is a very good question to see if we can stagger those times so that both of them are not closed during the same time. So I think we could definitely look into that.
This is Carolina. Another suggestion would be, since the student gets 4 meal swipes a day, they could either pick up a meal early, like a grab and go meal once in a while, or when they go to dinner, they could pick up a meal that they could hold on to for the next day in their residence hall. We always encourage students to make the most of all of their meal swipes, and that 4th swipe is sort of a bonus swipe. So there's a lot, this semester especially, a lot of grab and go options, and there's usually access to a break room fridge or something if it needs to be refrigerated. So that's another option, is just to get that extra meal while they're getting dinner or something and save it for the next day.
Also, Carolyn and Ryan, not to add to that, we do have Horizon Row Cafe that is open with continuous service that we do not close for cleaning we do accept meal swipes there as well.
Thank you so much, Turk, for sharing that as well. And just to follow up, it seems that we have a parent just commenting, maybe one could sanitize from 1 to 3 and the other station could sanitize from 3 to 5, so that way they could always be open. So I think that, as Ryan said, we'll just try to maybe analyze all situations. The next question is, how can you pay for the food at the food trucks? I would like for them to use their meal plan. Is that possible?
So, I mean, I can take this one. It's sort of a complicated answer, but it is not possible to use meal swipes at the food trucks. But in addition to the dining dollars, and the students did get more dining dollars than they normally get this semester, their Buzzcard funds, and they got either 100 or 250, I think, Buzzcard funds as well, depending on the plan. Those are also you can use those at the food trucks as well. So hopefully between the two, that would give them quite a few meals at places that don't accept meal swipes.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And Carolina, this might be for you as well. It says that I know she could use dining dollars at certain food trucks, but the $2,600 freshman meal plan only includes $150 dining dollars, and that won't go far since she has this problem 3 times a week. Traveling to Britain or North Ave for lunch before classes got pretty intense, but now she can't really afford to spend 30 minutes over and 30 minutes back to get to lunch. So do you have a follow-up to that as well?
Well, again, the Buzzcard funds, all students also receive Buzzcard funds. So Buzzcard funds are accepted at food trucks as well. And then if then this is all on the website too. There are some other locations that do accept meal swipes that might provide other options. And right now during the day, it's our lines are almost non-existent, so there shouldn't be a wait anywhere. I know there's some travel time, and there are those additional locations that do accept meal swipes. So between the Buzzcard funds and the additional locations, hopefully that provides some other options.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And this may be a question for Turk. Could closing the indoor seating at West Village eliminate or shorten the cleaning shutdown time to less than 2 hours?
So I'll partner with Ryan on this question because we partner with the building on the cleaning side of it. As for the food aspect of it, again, we would have to work it out with the building. Ryan, I defer to you on that aspect of it in terms of speed of cleaning.
Yeah, I mean, our West Village and other student kind of center locations, those they have their own cleaning period as well, and we try to work that often in conjunction with dining. It just depends on the scenario. So we can get in touch with our student center partners and see if that's a possibility. We can definitely look into that.
Thank you so much, Ryan. The next question is, we paid for the 7 days plan for our daughter because she wants to stay on campus and limit the exposure to the virus. Now, however, she doesn't consume all her daily swipes since it's too much for her. Why don't you give the opportunity to use the swipe for other things like other colleges, like laundry or at the campus store?
Well, the swipe they can use at the convenience stores are quick eats, so it is for food. But to have extra food and snacks back at their residence hall, they can use the swipe to get. Now, it doesn't cover non-food items, and they really are very separate. Unfortunately, dining dollars and meal swipes are only for dining locations. The Buzzcard funds are accepted any place that. Any location on campus, like laundry and bookstore and so on. So everybody has Buzzcard funds as well, but that is just the way it's set up. It's only for dining locations for the meal swipes.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Let's see what our next question is. Can meal swipes expire monthly instead of daily?
The meal swipes are set up, I mean, right now, as was indicated by the previous question, it's hard for students to even use 4 a day. We are trying to make it as much as an unlimited kind of situation as we can, and they can use it at any of our dining halls or West Village. And the reason that they have the 4 swipes is, as Ryan described, the West Village location isn't really a dining hall, it's a collection of small restaurants. And so it's really not suitable for the traditional kind of all you care to eat dining hall where you just come in and like cafeteria style. That's why we modified our meal plans so that it's 4 swipes a day. So we've never had a complaint that 4 swipes isn't enough. So since we have ample meal swipes per day, there wouldn't really be a reason to collect them for a whole month. It's not like they would need them and use them later, because they have trouble even using 4 a day. So I'm not sure. This also helps spread it out. I think parents generally like it when students are on plans where they know that they're going to have some swipes every day. When we first launched West Village, we had large block plans where they had like 300 meals for the whole semester. And some students, they bought meals for their friends, which they're not really supposed to do, but they did anyway. And they blew through all of their meal swipes very quickly, and they had none left over at the end of the semester. And parents were upset about that. So parents actually generally prefer that they know that their child can get at least 3, and in this case 4 meals a day, and right through the end of the semester. So that's really where we feel like this type of a program has the greatest benefits overall for the student.
Thank you, Carolina, for just touching on that. Ryan, I see that you spoke on this question in the chat box. However, I'll just pose it to the audience. Will seating capacity be expanded when cases decrease? Could we see an issue when the weather gets colder?
Yes, so we're not just making those seat occupancies and capacities in a silo. Those decisions we're working with and looking at the Department of Health, CDC, local, state guidelines, and laws to ensure that we're doing everything to be as safe as possible. So we'll definitely look into that. I mean, I think we can all say that we wish that we didn't have to limit our seating in our dining halls. That would make everything a lot easier from the beginning. So we'll definitely keep an eye out for that, because we would love to be able to allow more individuals to sit. But as Carolina mentioned in the beginning of our presentation today, safety is our priority. So we'll have to weigh that with the convenience of sitting down and eating inside our dining halls.
Thank you, Ryan. And if you can just touch on this question as well in terms of the limited fruit and vegetable options, and just wanting our students to have access to those. Yeah,
so that's definitely a priority. We see on our campus and other campuses in higher education as well, but definitely in Georgia Tech, that of course there's a demand for fruits and vegetables and healthy foods. So all of our dining locations, we do our best to provide and do provide fruits and vegetables and healthier options. So I guess that we would love to hear your feedback specifically. If there's a specific location that you're wanting to see changes in our menus, feel free to contact us directly and let us know about that so we can relook at what we're offering. But I'm also going to defer that over to Turk to speak a little bit more. I know we definitely have had a push in our dining halls to try to provide more healthy options over the last year. So Turk, do you want to speak to some of that?
Yeah, so thank you, Ryan. Yeah, each dining hall, we've worked very hard with the chef to create healthy options, such as even in our grab and go, fruits and vegetables are available. We have a full out salad bar. We have locations for vegan and vegetarians. In the retail, such as West Village, every meal combo that is offered, a cup of fruit is part of that option as well. So to Ron's point, we've worked tremendously hard to make the menus as healthy as possible. But any outside or in-depth feedback, please reach out or email us directly so we can continue to have that conversation.
Thank you so much, Turk, for just touching on that. And this question may be for you, Turk, or Carolina. What is the best way for a student that has 4 daily meal swipes to optimize their use? My students sometimes get discouraged with the lines at West Village.
I'll comment on that too. I mean, if they're around campus, of course, we want them to take advantage of all the different locations. If they live on the west side, then they're primarily going to be eating there. And we now have, we've relaunched mobile ordering at West Village too. So they don't have to necessarily come and wait in the line during lunch and dinner. There's a pretty extensive menu that they can pick up on the first floor without even having to go to the building onto the second floor where the restaurants are, and they can order ahead. And all these students should have the app that they use for the mobile ordering on their phones because they used it during move-in. It's used for several different units to do various, like I said, move-in and ordering, and there'll be more functionality on it going forward. And with all the meal swipe options that were listed on one of the previous slides, if they're out and about during the day, they can also pick up a meal swipe option on other parts of the campus. The Rising Roll and Food Hub at the exhibition hall are not that far from West Village. It's very central. And some students don't realize that they can use 2 swipes at the same time. So like I was mentioning before, if they're there to grab dinner, they can, if they're already at the location, they can use remaining swipe to get a meal to go, and they can save it in their room and maybe have it, you know, for breakfast or lunch the next day.
The other thing, addressing the long lines, I would say to that student, just don't be intimidated by the long lines. What we're doing is we're social distancing students, so it appears to be longer than the actual wait. We have student workers that are assisting us. We're doing time checks to make sure that folks are getting in and out of the lines in a timely manner. You know, some of those long lines you can get in and out in 8 to 10 minutes. So it's not as long as it was when we first opened up.
Thank you. Our next question is, are there grab and go or pop-up stations near West Campus?
So right now there aren't any grab and go near West Campus. We have talked about developing pop-up stations. However, we haven't launched that yet. We have launched food trucks coming to the west side of campus, something that we've never done before. But in terms of grab and go, right now there isn't any grab and go on the west side of campus. The closest to get the grab and go to the west side is the dining hub, which is the center of campus.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'll switch it over to Ryan. If you could just touch on what GT Dining is doing to just monitor employees and just making sure that they're abiding by the mandatory mask policy, and also making sure that they're wearing their mask properly for the safety of our students.
Yes, that's definitely a top priority for us. And so we've had a very select few employees who have needed a reminder on how to wear a mask. I think, like them, I think all of us at times have needed to be reminded on how to wear a mask, as well as our students as they're walking around campus. So it's a new world we live in. And so, yes, we've provided a few reminders. However, that information and those reminders are being provided daily. And then as soon as supervisors, if they do see anybody who needs to change the way they're wearing PPE, I know that supervisors have made that a priority to remind them and make them aware of that. So that is our top priority. We're also providing very convenient on-campus testing, saliva-based testing for our contractors, which includes our dining contractors. And so we're strongly encouraging them to get tested on a regular basis just to make sure everybody's as safe as possible.
And Turk can speak more on this, but all of the dining employees have to go through a daily check before they even start working. I believe you take their temperature, right, Turk?
So yeah, every employee upon arrival, their temperature is checked. Everybody has to be under 100.4 degrees to enter the building. We give you a slip that allows you to maneuver between buildings. So it's a very rigorous process for not only our dining employees, but as well as our delivery folks that are delivering the food, to make sure that, you know, everybody's safe to enter the building.
Thank you. And the next question that we have, it seems to be geared towards Rising Roll. It seems that a student was told no to purchase a certain item, a sandwich, in regards to a meal swipe. So just for clarification, are there certain things at Rise and Roll that you can use your meal swipe for and not?
Yeah, so at Rise and Roll, we have, I think it's 4 menu items that are part of the meal swipe option. Those are listed on the menu board. And yeah, when a student comes to the area and they try to get something that's not part of the meal swipe, we explain that part, that certain items off the menu is not accepted on the meal swipe program.
Thank you, Turk, for sharing that. And I know, Ryan, I know you spoke on this earlier, but if you can maybe expound on it again. It seems that parent is just highlighting the purpose of the freshman experience and having students dine together and the camaraderie that builds and just socializing. So are there any plans to expand seating this later on the semester, or are we going to look for that in the spring?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna we monitor that really on a weekly basis. I mean, right before, over the summer, what we did is we removed a lot of seating because we had to, right? There was a requirement for people not to sit close together in clusters. So we'll have to continue to monitor that throughout this semester. We don't know what spring's going to bring, of course. Hopefully we're back to as close to normal as possible, which means we put a lot more tables and chairs back in our dining locations for people to sit and dine. But yes, we completely agree that the freshman experience is definitely to create community, and that definitely has an important role when it comes to dining and dining together. But once again, safety is the priority. So there is outdoor seating available in many places. We do have some limited seating, of course, in those dining locations that is still available. And otherwise, yes, the options are to go out on the lawn or sit on the grass, or go out on Tech Green and sort of make sure you're socially distancing, but still be able to sit and dine with some others, maybe in a group that's not very close together, but still can dine together. We have to get creative, unfortunately, at this time. So we'll continue to monitor it. As soon as we're able to start putting tables and chairs in our seating areas, I can promise you we'll do it, because we would love to be able to do that sooner rather than later.
And let me add to that, to what Ryan just said. Not only do we have outdoor seating, but this summer we added a lot of outdoor seating. We enhanced our outdoor seating at North Avenue Dining Hall, and we added seating in the areas where we were going to have food trucks. And just walking around campus, and we all know it's much safer to be outside than indoors with the pandemic. You see a lot of students grab their food, even when there are seats available in the dining halls. We were kind of surprised by this. They are choosing to take it with them, and you see them sitting, like Ryan said, out in nice green areas. And if they're with their friends that they hang out all the time, they're a little bit closer together. But they're still spread out more than they would be indoors. And it's tricky inside the dining halls, because oftentimes it's not like if you go to a restaurant and you're eating with your family. When you go in a dining hall, you might end up sitting at a long table with people you don't know. And then of course you have to take your mask off to eat. So it's not the safest environment. So I think the fact that they're sitting outside, and we have a lot of grassy areas and a lot of outdoor seating, while weather permits, and seems like it's going to be a while before it gets too cold to sit outside. So that'll be a nice option. But like Ryan said, as things hopefully change and evolve, and we get new guidance, we will add the chairs back indoors.
Thank you, Carolina, for sharing that. And this is a great question. My student has a birthday coming up at the end of the month. Does dining services provide a way for parents to purchase a birthday cake or even a pick-me-up cake for hard weeks?
Again, I would say that's an offline conversation or a question. It's not something that we promote, but it's something that we can do. So again, if you could reach out to me at that nutrition email that was provided earlier, if one of the chef or the dietitian would direct that to me, and I can work with you directly and possibly have a phone call where we can work something out.
Thank you for touching on that, Turk. Now, I think this question may be for you as well. Will Britton Dining Hall be reopened for breakfast at some point?
Yeah, at some point. I don't know if it's going to reopen this semester. However, we are evaluating the volumes that we're seeing in the dining halls. Right now, the reason for closing Britton, the proximity from Britton to North Avenue and the number of transactions meant one of the dining halls would need to close because we just wasn't seeing those morning transactions. However, we chose to close Britton, but again, right around the corner from Britton is North Avenue with all breakfast needs there as well.
Alrighty, and we'll move on to the next question. And for anybody on the team who wants to take this one, can you explain in details the difference between Buzzcard funds and normal swipes? What can the Buzz funds be used for?
I'll take that one. So there's really 3 different tender options on your Buzzcard. There's the meal swipes, which we've covered, and you saw the slide everywhere you can use that. That gets you into a dining hall or gets you a meal equivalency, like a combo meal at some of those other locations that we described. That's a meal swipe. And then dining dollars are like a declining balance fund that is only used at dining locations. That includes food trucks. Basically any dining on campus, you can use your dining dollars. And those unused dining dollars from the fall will roll over into the spring. So they don't have to finish, they don't expire until the end of the academic year. And then the Buzzcard funds can be used, they have even a broader usage. So they're any place dining and any other place that, well, right now we're not accepting cash, but we used to say any place that accepts cash on campus, but any place with a cash register really. So, or even you can even use the card for laundry or for printing or at the bookstore or at the CRC. Basically any place on campus that has a cash register accepts Buzzcard funds. You can even use them at the vending machines. And they don't expire. So dining dollars are for the academic year as part of the dining program, and the Buzzcard funds are loaded on there for these for laundry primarily for first years, but also to use at food trucks and the bookstore and vending machines and any other place that you can pay for anything on campus.
That sounds good. Sounds good. The next question that I have is, if a student who is in quarantine or isolation housing and they have a dietary restriction, how would they go about communicating that to dining so that way they can make sure they're accommodated?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely a good question. When individuals, when they need to enter either quarantine or isolation, they fill out a form that provides us some information, and we do request dietary restriction information at that time. So we get that information and we include it on the report that's going to our dining team when they are preparing meals for all the individuals who are either in quarantine or isolation. And so we look at that information based on the individual, and we just ensure that the meal itself is labeled for that room and for that person, so that they have food that they can eat. So we do ensure and make sure we take that into consideration when preparing those meals.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And just to follow up to that, if a student perhaps wants to get a third meal outside of the 2 meals that is provided to them, or just a snack, how would they go about doing that safely?
Yeah, at this time we're not accommodating additional meals. We have a number of individuals that we're providing those meals for right now, so it's a lot of logistics. We have 49 different residence halls across campus, and we have a location that's off campus as well, and so we're providing those 2 meals a day, and that's what we're able to do. I will also mention that, and I mentioned this previously, but the actual cost for those meals are actually higher than a traditional meal swipe. So really we've had some questions that they, usually have 4 meal swipes on a traditional plan, and we can confidently say that the meals that are being provided are really worth 2 meal swipes because of the food that's being provided, and like I said, the logistics and the materials and things like that. So at this time, we're not able to prepare additional meals. We would encourage them. They do have the option to order food and have it delivered to the location, and then have it brought up to their space in quarantine or isolation if they need additional food outside of GT dining.
Also, Ryan, if I can add to that, we also work extremely hard to make sure that the amount of food that's given at the meal is hearty enough to last those 2 meal periods. Fruits and, again, a snack is provided, chips, those sorts of things, vegetables as well, a salad. So it's not just one hot meal, it's a full package meal to ensure that the student is getting enough during each meal period.
Thank you, Turk. And the next question we have is for Carolina. How can the student check the balance of the Buzzcard funds?
If they've downloaded the Buzzcard app, they can check it there. You can also, if you go to the dining site, at the bottom of the FAQs, there's also a link to the Buzzcard page. If you go into the Buzzcard portal, both on your phone or on the website, you can log in there and it tells you how many meal swipes you have if you're on a block plan. It also tells you your dining dollars and Buzzcard funds. It's an easy thing to Google. I don't know the web address, but it is on the dining website under FAQs, or they can just Google Buzzcard portal and log in with their credentials.
Thank you so much for sharing that. The next question is, I know that Chick-Fil-A was a very popular retail location last semester, and just even last year. Is there a Chick-Fil-A option on campus now for students to purchase, even though there is student center construction?
Yeah, I can answer that. So yes, we definitely know how popular Chick-fil-A is with our students. So we are in the process of, during this temporary shutdown of the student center, getting a Chick-fil-A food truck. And it's actually being custom built for us, and we should have it here soon. In the interim, Chick-fil-A has been coming with basically a tent and doing food service out of the tent, kind of like a food truck. And I think it was mentioned earlier that breakfast and lunch transactions have been very low. I think a lot of students are still doing a lot online, even more so than we had expected, and are not sort of circulating about the campus during the day. And so Chick-fil-A was going to be here extended hours Monday through Friday in the center of campus. And this has really never happened with Chick-fil-A before, but the traffic has been so slow during the middle part of the day that they've now, and Turk can comment more on this, but shifted more to the evening hours, because that is when we get the longer lines, is at dinner time. So we are constantly adjusting, as we've already talked about a couple examples of our offerings and our hours to meet the needs of the students when they are most coming out to dine with us. And we also, you know, we don't want to be throwing away a lot of food, and the food truck operators are of course outside the campus. So if we have too many of them and they're not getting any business, they're not going to want to come back. So it's really important for us to sort of right size the size of the operation. But I don't know if Turk, if you want to add anything more about Chick-fil-A. I think they've been here a few times in the evening now to serve that meal period.
Yeah, so yesterday in particular, we put Chick-fil-A on the east side of campus near the residence hall, and that went very well. One of the things that we're doing with Chick-fil-A, and I actually have a meeting after this meeting with Chick-fil-A, is because they have a tent, we can be a little bit more creative and get them in the flow of student traffic. So while there's not much traffic in the center of campus, such as in the Tech Green area, we are looking at different options, different patterns where students are, to put the tent area closer to the students so they see where we are. We also post the locations on our social media page as well, so everybody can know where a food truck or Chick-fil-A will be at throughout campus.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And then I'll just give it one last call for questions to our parents and families who are on the webinar. If you have any questions for our dining team, please feel free to drop those in the Q&A chat box. While we're waiting for those questions, I'll just give it to the team here. Do any of you have any final remarks, or just anything you would like to share to our parents who are on the webinar today?
Yeah, I got one more thing I wanted to add. So a question was asked about grab-and-go options on the west side of campus, and I forgot to mention that in the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, we purchased a mobile food cart for dining ourselves that we're going to operate. It's smaller than a food truck, but bigger than a golf cart, and that mobile food cart is going to house grab-and-go options that we will be able to place anywhere on campus, but in particularly, we'll be able to use that on the west side of campus to assist with grab-and-go options. Again, the truck is small enough for us to come to the students, and the students, we can get creative and putting it in locations that best, takes care of the student.
I just wanted to mention two things. Number one, I don't think we referenced, we have a new Sideways Cafe over in our library. And if we did, I want to just mention it again. It's just opened up. It's a very nice cafe that's in conjunction with Blue Donkey, which is actually a coffee company that was started by students on campus that's become very popular. It even competes directly with Starbucks, which says something. And so that's a nice facility that we just opened up. So we encourage individuals to go check that out in our newly renovated library as well. And then I was just going to mention in closing, we thank everybody for their patience. We've have obviously a very unique situation that we've had this year. Everybody has, and so we're on a daily basis meeting and talking about how we can change operations to improve the experience, to shorten lines, make things more efficient, provide even better options. So we appreciate your feedback. We love to hear it, but we just want you to know we are working on 7 days a week to try to make the dining experience as best as possible.
Thank you, Ryan. And Turk, we did have one more question in regards to the new pop-up truck that you just spoke of. Will that take meal swipes?
Yes, sorry, I forgot about that. That will take meal swipes. Yes, it will.
Does Sideway Cafe take meal swipes as well?
Sideway Cafe do not take meal swipes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Carolina, I'll turn it over to you to see if you have any final remarks or any healthy tips that you would like to leave with the parents.
Oh, I second what Ryan said. I think he summarized it very nicely. We're all working in unprecedented times, and we put a lot of work and effort into being prepared, mostly with our safety measures at the start of the semester. And it did take some adjusting. We did have some lines for a while, and I think very quickly the team adjusted, enhanced options, shortened lines, and now we're monitoring every day to, like you heard many examples where we're adding options, modifying hours of operations, trying to optimize everything. And as Turk said, we have gotten, I think just last week, over 1,000 responses to our customer satisfaction surveys that are available at each location, and they're overwhelmingly very positive, especially on the food quality. So there are a lot of options. I myself and Ryan, we eat at all the different locations, and it's sure a lot better than what I had when I was in school. So we have a lot of, especially with 4 swipes today. So I do encourage you to encourage your students to take advantage of all those swipes. With all the grab and go, nobody should ever go hungry. There's, there's different hours hours of operation and open locations at different parts of campus throughout the day. So with a little planning ahead, they really can get the most that they can out of their meal plan, and as well with those Buzzcards and dining dollars. There's no reason not to get the full value of that plan. And as always, there's many ways to provide feedback and ask questions directly, and we're very happy to get that input from both the parents and the students. So we thank you for that.
Thank you as well. And it seems that we have a follow-up question to that. Would you consider expanding the swipe option since there is already limitations due to construction?
Expand it. Well, I think we have a few years ago, before I came to campus here, our meal swipes were more traditional, like they are on a lot of campuses, where they were only available at the dining halls. And then West Village was built, and they have all those restaurant options, and now they have, Rising Roll, which typically branded concepts would not have meal swipes. We have the dining hub. We, as Turk just mentioned, our mobile food cart is going to accept meal swipes. So we are always looking for ways to give students more options to use their meal plans on more parts of campus. So I think there are options, even with the construction that's going on. The exhibition hall is a beautiful facility, and now there's a lot of grab and go there. And as Ryan pointed out on that slide, that home style option where there's hot foods that rotate all the time, so it's not the same meal every day, and there's no lines there at all. So and that location is open till 7 p.m. in the evening. So with a little bit of planning, I think that there's plenty of variety and a lot of options for your meal swipes.
The other thing to add to that, Carolina, we also, looking at the flow of traffic and thinking about the student, When the exhibition hall, the dining hub opened, we were not accepting meal swipes there at the beginning of the semester, and most recently, we just made that adjustment. So to the person who posed that question, we are actively always looking to find better options or add more meal swipes. And in that location where we were not accepting meal swipes a week and a half ago, we are accepting meal swipes there now.
Thank you, Turk. And just before we close, where can the hours of operation be? Where is it listed?
At dining.gotech.edu, and it's on the homepage.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Well, just to close it out, thank you to all the parents who have attended the webinar today. We are so grateful to have Dining just taking the time out of their schedule to chat with us and share some things with us and some cool things that are going on campus. So definitely thank you to them. Thank you to you as well, parents. Please join us tomorrow. We are joined by GT Counseling and GT Care to kind of talk about health and well-being on campus. And so please join us at 12 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Standard Time. You can find the Microsoft Teams attendee link on our website, parents.gatech.edu, under the Stay Connected tab, virtual recordings. And so that way you can also see the full schedule of our webinars for the upcoming semester. And also, just so you know, team, we have a lot of parents just saying thank you for all the hard work you've done to keep our students fed and safe. And, super grateful for everything that GT Dining is doing for our students. So I just wanted to share that. Further ado, I hope everybody has a good rest of the day, and we'll hopefully see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.